beautiful people. We're going to cover record types. This is Chris Young with 80/20 CRM, a Salesforce platform by Get Real. And we're going to jump into a little bit of admin work here on record types and explaining what they are. Now, let me show you the first time on the front side, someone might see record types. Now, if I go to create a new lead, we should see, hey, it's going to ask me, what kind of lead record do you want this to be? Do you want it to be an REI record or a retail record? Now on the opportunity, the transaction, you might see different values, retail buyer, retail seller, a little more granular there. But this helps the system know what page layout should I show you, what fields should there be, and what pick list values should we see for some of those fields. It makes sure that the data you're seeing is relative to that type of record. We try to use them sparingly. You don't want too many record types. They can be proliferated pretty quickly. So we use them, we try to use them in their most powerful way and in the right times and places. They are very useful, but you really only want to use them when you know that the page layout is going to be different and it needs to be different fields. So Salesforce, for example, recommends against contact record types, typically, because unless you're going to have very different data segmenting those contacts, accounts are similar. So and a type of record type that they do use for accounts is a business account versus a person account, right? So a business account is a company, an entity. They've got a business headquarters, their own phone number and website and all of that fun stuff usually. And then they might have contacts. They will have contacts associated with that business. You know, a CEO or founder, some directors and VPs, some sales team operations, etc. Versus a person account, which is an individual that you're doing business with. So think of it like B2B versus B2C. The B2B is a business account. B2C is a consumer or a person account typically. And so sellers are often person accounts. It's a different record type because it's quite different data that you're capturing because you're capturing the person versus a company. And that individual or person is actually a combination of both a contact and account record in one. So that's an important record type to be familiar with. Record types can be changed except for the business account to person account. That one you have to recreate the record, but generally they can be swapped back and forth if they need to be. So let me show you a little difference here. If I'm in a lead, this all open leads REI. If you see a designation at the end like that, just know that that's specifying a record type because list views will only allow you to inline edit if you filtered to a single record type. I don't know why exactly the architecture is that way, but it is. It won't let you edit. I guess I do know why. It's because you can't have the same pick list values. You can, but you may have different pick list values for different record types, so you wouldn't really be able to select those. And the fields and inline edit have to be on the page layout, and there are a couple other things to make that work. So let's go to Abigail here, an REI record type, and we'll just go down and you can see record type here, residential REI. And there are some fields and values that are going to be unique to that record type. So let's just look at record types and what kind of admin work there might be behind them. So something to keep in mind with record types, if you go to setup, we'll go look at them. They're on the object specifically. And let's go a faster route. If you want to look at the record types on the lead specifically, you can hit the gear icon, go to edit object, and that will take you straight to the lead. And then you'll find record types right here on the lead object. Record types are used in conjunction with profiles and page layouts to help identify which profile needs to see what data, and they are starting to make their way into permission sets as well. So they don't have to be just profiles, but you'll notice if I do a look at my page layout assignments, it's gonna say, hey, here's my profiles, it's a matrix here are your profiles, here are your record types. What page layout do you wanna assign to the residential REI profile and the residential REI record type or residential retail record type. So you can swap those around. It gives you some flexibility on what they see. Let's look at the REI record type here. And what you'll see, aside from just basic definition and if it's active or not, right, I can edit it. and I can deactivate. This one is managed by GetReal. It's in the managed package, so you can't change these definitions, but you can deactivate it. Unless it's being used and is the only record type being used by a certain profile, then it's going to ask you to remove it from that profile. So there's a little bit of work to do that, but they can be deactivated. And then here you'll notice all the pick lists available on that record type and their specific values. So if you watch the pick list value training, you've already seen this before, but we're going to jump into, let's look at reason for selling. So you'll see here in the REI record type, we have all these reasons for selling. And I could say, hey, I don't want to include inherited on the REI record type, or I don't want to include title issues, no real reason for that, but I can pop those values out, and then my users with that record type, they won't see those values anymore. I can also give it a default value. Say, hey, everything that gets created with an REI record type, reason for selling is going to start with a 1031 exchange value, for example. Let's look at one that is likely different between two record types. Let's look at need. So the REI record type, we just capture all of these. Maybe they need to sell a home, a lot or land, multifamily. Maybe they really want a listing, and so we might kick it over to retail. Maybe it's buy a home. Maybe you did have a buyer lead come in. Maybe you're trying to build your buyers list, and you decide to have them come in through leads, which is totally fine. You just don't need to create an opportunity for them usually. You can just convert them over, create the account and contact, and away you go. But it does allow you to track their buy box from the lead, or maybe join our team, some others. You could even move some of these off. Say, hey, if it's REI, I don't care for it to be someone looking to join the team. That's going to be a different record type if you want it to be. So you can see those ones here. And let's look and see if I go into the retail record type, and they may be the same in this org. I haven't actually checked. They are the same, but I may say, hey, you know what? I'm going to drop this one off, and I'm going to drop this one off, and I'm going to leave those, and I'm going to say default is a listing, and I'm going to save that as my retail. So now you'll see a difference between those. So that's, I would say, most of the details around record types. The last thing we'll look at is in a profile. So if I go home here, I can either type in profiles, or it's always in the user section, and go to users, profiles. And I'm just going to show you record type assignments. Again, we're going to look at the lead. So if I create a new record type, when you create it, it'll ask you if you want to add it to certain profiles. Always good to add it to the minimum profiles you want. If you don't, if you try and delete it, you're gonna have to go and manually remove it from all those profiles to delete it. So it's always the best practice to add that record type to the minimum profiles that you think might need it. Even if it's just one to test it first, that's wise. So I'm going to just search here for leads. It's usually plural, and I can go into the leads object. That's in object settings here, but I'm just going to search it. It's faster. And here I can see for this system admin profile, which an admin user typically has, I can see the different record types, what their page layout assignments are, and what the system admin has assigned. Doesn't have the master assigned. That's usually only assigned if no other record types exist. So once you create other record types, usually that one is not there, is not assigned. Default is something you don't have to worry about. You won't ever use default. It just has to be there to deploy certain packages, to enable certain fields. And then what we do have assigned, residential REI and retail, you can see they're assigned here. I could remove REI from this user or from this profile. And then which one's the default? So you noticed when I went to create a lead, and I'm bouncing a little bit here, it defaulted to REI. So if I did nothing else, just click next. Or if a lead comes in from an outside source and I don't specify a record type, it will use that default record type automatically. It'll just select that and assume that's the record type it is. So Zapier or any other integration, web to lead, whatever, it will use that default record type. So, and then also the profile or the page layout, that's assigned to that record type. So you can see those here. And again, those are starting to make their way into permission sets, but they're not quite there yet. All right, I hope that was helpful with record types. The ones that we have, you'll see a few on the lead. In this case, in this sandbox, you see REI and retail. And then on an opportunity, if I just go to create a new opportunity, which we don't do it that way, you create a lead and convert it. But you can see REI, retail buyer, retail seller, record types. Same with the transaction, see the exact same ones. In an opportunity, you can have multiple transactions, and so those record types matter. And then you will see an account has record types, business account and person account. There aren't a ton, but there are a few of them. All right, so good to know what they are. And prospects, we have buyer prospects and seller prospects have record types. If you have any questions on them, curious about how to use them, how to leverage them, what they do, please, as always, reach out to us. You've got Get Real support. You can always ask a question in here. We're working on an AI bot that will be in the platform for you that you can ask whatever questions you want as well. And Salesforce, of course, also has powerful training. You can search Salesforce help right here, type in record types and search, and you'll get all sorts of content from Salesforce. Documents, videos, trailheads, all sorts of good things from them too. So I should probably show that more frequently. If it's anything basic Salesforce, you've got it available. Thanks for joining. I'm Chris Young with 80/20 CRM by Get Real, and that is a little bit about record types. Take it easy.